Hello, I am Elliot Stewart. This other person isn't. His name is...
I'm Gaz. Hello there.
So here we are, me and Gaz and I, to look at something, not necessarily with rose-tinted glasses on, because Rosa is one of the episodes, but these are blue, like the TARDIS, and we're going to be looking at the first debut of two people, which is Chibnall, and Jodie, and all her assistants and everything. So
please, the fam, we have to call them, friends of the Doctor. Remember, from this point, the official description, not companions, not assistants.
Well, friends of the Doctor would be FOD, not fam. They should have been, we are FOD. Yes, or Thud, as the fan base did not really like a lot of this. I think we're about to find out. So the first story ever in season 11 was The Woman Who Fell to Earth, which was directed by Jamie Childs, who I think had done stuff before. Now, this got huge ratings. This got like 10,096,000 people to tune in to see this. Whether they all kept watching, I couldn't tell you. You know, one of these things, because as in, like, I don't mean the continuous season. I don't know at what point, but I think it was about 11 million. They said that everyone tuned in to see it, which hadn't happened to Doctor Who for quite a while. I did like Capaldi, but it had not been that high for ages.
No, I'm with you on that. But yeah, I know you and I have talked before. You know, the Capaldi ratings really were far lower. So this, as event television goes, certainly in terms of the BBC ratings, you know, it was a winner.
So you've watched it recently. I've been dipping it out.
You have made me, Elliot, rewatch the entire season. So I have experienced it, and I watched it on broadcast, and this is only the second time I've actually watched it. So it was very interesting to watch the whole season in a compressed period of time as well.
So unlike any other recent season, 2005 onward, this season does not have a story arc. It doesn't have a love interest. It doesn't have a lot of stuff that made people who weren't Whovians or Hoovers or suckers to tune in. So was that a good idea, do you feel?
I think it was. It was. I mean, I've always been a fan of episodic Doctor Who. It does let you dip in, it lets you dip out. Well, the next week it's going to be, you know, something completely different. And I think for Jodie as well, it gave them the chance to do something a bit more experimental. In, like, you know, we'll try something different each week. We're not tied into having this overarching narrative. We're not going to have to. This week's going to be it's the mid-season finale, and so things are going to happen. It's like no, that's just episode 5. Yes.
I mean, it reminded me, I kept thinking of the Peter Davison era by the fact that you've got a young, blonde, nervous person. She is very nervous. That's what I like about Jodie's performance, is she's not just necessarily the dotty aunt, but she's not in control of anything. And it always surprises me when all of the FOD people go, oh no, the Doctor, she's great, she does great things. Well, she does, but she doesn't necessarily inspire a lot of confidence.
I was going to say that. I mean, that's always a weakness of any writing. If you have to have the supporting cast saying how great this person is, show, don't tell. Show us her being fantastic. Show us, and they do from time to time. She has some standout moments. I still struggle to spot a moment in the whole season that was her defining Doctor moment. There's one or two places where she almost got to it, and it still just feels a little flat, which I think is the scripting. I think Jodie is fantastic as an actor. I just think the scripts weren't quite as worthy of her as they could have been.
I don't know why everyone told her that she should be carrying around an invisible box. Doing this. Someone told her. I think she originally was going to be told that she had a new CGI companion called Boxy, and she was carrying them around, wants to show them what she was doing. Over here, Boxy. This way, go watch out, Boxy. She's got this thing. You know, John Pertwee keeps his script in the back of his this, and David Tennant's got lots of ticks and limey and sniffing and all that sort of stuff. Everyone's got different things, and she's got the invisible box. Yeah, don't know why. So we're starting off with The Woman Who Fell to Earth, which is obviously a play on the David Bowie film. So first of all, you've seen it again after broadcast. For me, when I first saw it, it felt like such a good jolt of something different, because we were in a real place, real people being introduced to them. I wasn't that keen on the fact that she just sort of fell in, and like it was a really good cliffhanger, and she was going to fall to her doom. Oh my goodness! But it's all right. She just fell through a train, and she's all right. I would have liked a little bit.
I mean, the thing is, there's a long intro without the Doctor. I mean, you almost got to the question. You're kind of waiting for the Doctor's arrival, and that was clearly the point of the fall. That this is happening. These things are happening. We're learning about Ryan. We're learning about Graham and Yaz. They're all coming together, and then a third of the way through the episode, the Doctor finally arrives. In many regards, you felt like a lot of world building going on. A lot of, this was Chibnall sort of, putting his store. This is the kind of thing it's going to be. It felt a bit reminiscent of season 1, the Ninth Doctor's season, in that sort of trying to ground it a little more in reality. And obviously, I'm biased because I love Sheffield, and so setting it in Sheffield, I spent a lot of time going, I know where that is. That doesn't connect to that in the way it connects there, but it's television, so I don't mind.
Like Alpha Papa when you watch the Alan Partridge movie.
Oh yes.
He's driving somewhere, and I was going, wait a minute, no, that's up Dereham Road, and I'm not very good at geography. Even I know you wouldn't go there. So you've got the woman who fell to Earth, and you've got a lot of. It's almost like Spearhead from space. We're setting up a lot of stuff before we actually let the Doctor be doctoring, and she builds her own. Do you know that for me is my favourite moment of the episode, her building the new Sonic. And I'm a little disappointed because that was the point. Like, this is going to be a tinkerer Doctor. This is going to be a Doctor who's, forged in Sheffield steel, and is going to be a gadgeteer. And it's like, she's not going to solve it with hand waving and heartfelt speeches. She's going to build stuff. She's going to be really hands on. And I thought, what a great conception! I love the goggles. I wish she'd kept the goggles as part of the outfit. That, and then forget the Dotty Ant, the mad professor sort of approach. That would have been a brilliant direction to go in. And then, we didn't. This is the thing I think Chibnall suffers from. Is in my opinion, he has these really cool concepts, but does nothing with them. What a cool idea, the Fugitive Doctor, which is Lester Cup. Oh, what a brilliant idea! The Master shows up. Oh, and new quirky. We've got all companions, and it's this. But once he's got all the little pieces, they slip away from him, and he doesn't know what to do with them.
Yeah.
Though I do like, and even though I'm told that this baddie in it, who is Tim Shaw, which I like, I don't know, I didn't know the Tim Shaw thing. I did like it, and the teeth and everything. I liked his voice. I like that he meets someone with a kebab who throws it at him. Did that happen in Sheffield a lot?
I don't know. I ate my kebabs when I was in Sheffield. So.
Fading aliens. And it. Is it Predator? I've only seen.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I mean, that was the vibe. I mean, I kind of like the science in it. I mean, actually, rewatching it, the fact when Grace dies, that had more impactful the second time round. Even though I knew it was coming, the first time round, it was like, well, I know she's not one of the companions, and she's not coming along, so she's got to be kind of written out in some respect. And it was actually, I thought, actually, this is a good character spur for both Graham and Ryan. But yeah, I wasn't blown away with him as a villain. But it's a first episode villain. They're never super brilliant. This is about introducing the universe, introducing the Doctor, and he did that. It ticked enough boxes for me in that respect. It was a good start, not a great start.
Yeah.
But it was certainly, for me, I thought, well, this is okay. Looking forward to seeing what's coming next.
Yeah. So I mean, was there? I kind of like. Again, is this introduced in her next season, where this Doctor messes up occasionally, gets things wrong occasionally, rather than walks in and tries to save the day and people get in the way? So much as, is there a bit? I'm trying to remember now, the bit where they will get bombs in their necks and everything.
Yeah. The genetic bombs, yeah.
It's slightly the Doctor's fault, I think. I could be wrong. And I'm starting to. I like her character of like sort of a bit like Patrick Troughton. A bit like, oh my goodness, what are we going to do? Like that. And it really, really, like Pete Davison had it as well, where we're suddenly, we've got a Doctor who doesn't really know what they're doing, what's going on, and quite a human Doctor. I find that Jodie.
Yeah, I think in some respects that is my issue with the whole of 13, is she doesn't feel like she's the 13th Doctor. She just feels like could be any other Time Lord a lot of the time, and not quite enough. I really feel, that there's not that feeling in the way that Matt Smith had that old man in a young man's body sort of feeling, that you could feel this was a character who'd been around for centuries. I was waiting for those moments of true alienness, and certainly in this season, I don't think we saw them. I think we did see later on a little bit more. There's a little more nuance. This season is a little more vanilla, I think, unfortunately, for the Doctor's characterization.
I mean, it's always that thing, isn't it? Do you go in all with whistles and bells? Do you go like, this is the grumpiest Doctor ever, like Peter Capaldi? Or do you go in with, did you like that guy from All Creatures Great and Small? Or here he is wearing cricket whites. Just do that and then settle in and change it. Or do you just go, right, like this is what the Doctor's going to be like now. If you don't like it, you like it, like Colin Baker, I'm the Doctor, whether you like it or not, And I mean, people, it's difficult to tell because she was the first female Doctor on television, at least, I think, that there's that modern day thing where you get a lot of sexist trolls or wherever I feel very right on when I say that. Very people who are like, like, oh, it's a woman and they're in everything. Well, there's quite a lot on the planet, so that's a bit silly to be saying that. So as the first female Doctor, I thought they would make her stronger or scarier or mystical. But as you say, it's very vanilla.
That was it. And that's what I said about missing that moment of greatness, that missing of sort of pure Doctorness that would make me say, yes, this Doctor's female, but look how awesome they are. Oh, that's okay, because Ryan's going to tell me how awesome they are. It's like, no. We've
got all our artists. We've got Ryan and Yaz and Graham, and they're given an awful lot in this episode because he can't ride a bike. She wants to be a police officer or something, I think.
She's a trainer, police trainee.
Yeah. And they know each other, or they met briefly. She's gone off to have this career.
They went to school together. That's their connection.
Well, there's also a thing where like there's a point, I think, when they meet the weird alien thing, and they're sitting around talking, and she's like, "Oh, how are you getting on?" And he's like, "Oh, work in a warehouse because I'm dyspraxic." Essentially, that's what he says. And she's like, she seems very disappointed. Like, oh, that's
and this is one of my issues with Ryan, that his dyspraxia is his character.
Yeah.
And then the loss of his gran, and that's his two notes of characterization, and he's so poorly served by that as a character and as an actor. I actually warmed to Ryan more on my second watching. I really didn't think much of him on the first time round. I warmed to his performance, and there's a couple of my more standout episodes are the episodes where Ryan has a lot more to do, and I realized he might be sneakily my favourite companion of this season.
Well, you got that fist bump moment that doesn't come, but we do get it at the end of the season, or I think it'll be at the end of the Dalek.
Oh, we'll talk about that later, but that is a marvellous payoff.
We got Graham as well, who he's a really interesting choice because he's like a comedian, but he brings heart to it, and he's very, very, he's good, and it's very...
He reminded me of Roy Castle in the Doctor Who film, the Peter Cushing film, and I like Bradley Walsh, so I was on board with him as a companion. I like an older male companion. I almost would have liked, I hate to say it, a single companion. I would have loved the younger female Doctor, older male companion. No romance is going to happen here, because that would be a complete inversion of the Doctor as the older man and the younger female assistant. That would be a wonderful inversion. And I can see that Chibnall was kind of going for that first Doctor vibe, or even say fifth Doctor, with three companions together, so we've got these different voices. But I think that robbed all three of the companions, so friends of the Doctor, of their moments in the sun, because their materials always by necessity spread a little thinner, and you could tell in individual episodes where this is an episode where Ryan gets to say, this is more of a Yaz episode, and the others are there just to provide commentary, or as they did annoyingly repeatedly in many episodes, sit on some steps and just have a bit of a chat. It happened so many times it began to become a bit of a trope for this season, and not a good one.
Now, I do remember, we're going to move on to the next episode in a minute, but I remember this has a brilliant cliffhanger. She's tinkering. Suddenly, they're floating in space.
At that point, I thought, the theme of the season's going to be Hunt the TARDIS.
But out of 10, how did you get affected by that?
I gave it a 7 out of 10 for the woman who fell to earth. For me, it was a good, if not great, but I enjoyed it.
I think I agree. I think 7. There were moments of like, I really like this. And but it just needed a little bit more of a kick with the Doctor. She don't stand there telling me that she's great. Let's see her do something brave. She does the jump, which is quite. And there are some funny bits we forgot to mention. I like the bit where the guy's up in the crane and he's reading this book about, oh, don't worry, there's someone always coming for you, and the baddie's coming behind you. So, I'm sorry, that appealed. I thought that was quite fun.
Yeah, like I say, it is not without merit, this episode.
Yeah. So there they are. Brilliant cliffhanger. It's floating in space. Reminiscent of.
It's Hitchhikers is what I kind of thought of it. It's Ford and Arthur floating in space, and the Vogon constructor fleet picks them up, or the Heart of Gold, rather. So
we're moving on to the Ghost Monument now, which I think I like the title of it because I could not tell you that the Ghost Monument turns out to be the TARDIS. And 9 million people tune in, so we've still got quite a few people tuning in. This is written by Chibnall, and it's directed by Mark Tondery, who I feel like they've done other stuff as well. So we've got a brilliant starting episode. And now, is this a dip? Because remember in the Russell T Davies
this is for me.
Yeah,
absolutely a dip. It's one of my least favourite episodes of the season. Yeah. I found the guest cast's acting was the direction is poor. The acting feels. I mean, I like Amdram, so when I'm saying it felt like Amdram, I'm kind of being very scathing. But it just felt flat. I did not feel the tension. I mean, suppose this race through the darkness to get to this ghost monument with the last two people in this fantastic race that so many have set off. I never felt the tension. They could just have been doing a one room play, and it just felt so flat for me. Now, again, I'm aware for second Doctor episodes of most new Doctors, I'm used to them falling flat. I mean, I remember The Beast Below for Matt for 11, and it's okay, but it's you can tell they're still feeling their way there. And with this, I mean, I actually wrote down my pros and cons for every episode, and I couldn't think of any pros for this one.
What I remember about this is the idea is quite good. The idea that we're suddenly you're on a planet, and you're like there's a race to get the ghost monument. I mean, and it's what was lacking, I felt, was lots of people doing it. So you had these two people, the guy with the cigar, we'll see that later.
It felt on a budget.
Yeah, it's a lovely idea. I mean, I like
thousands of people set off. We've only afforded 2 of them to come here today.
Yeah. All you had to do, if you couldn't afford actors, is do point of view shots. We'd have binoculars. I think we're being followed, something like that.
I mean, again, and there was that feeling when they were going through the tricks and the traps, and I was kind of reminded of Death of the Daleks with the Exelon City, and with Pertwee sort of weaving his way through those traps as the Daleks were following them. And I thought, I love a death trap house. I love the idea and I just wasn't engaged by it. They didn't feel like deadly traps. They just felt like things they're going to bypass.
Yeah, I don't remember particularly anybody getting in that much trouble. There was a point where our favourite dyspraxic, which is much just call him that, that's his sitcom. He goes, I don't worry. I can't make up a ladder because I know that feeling. That's all right. But the bit where he sort of gets his space gun and runs out to go and get the baddies, and then runs back in going, my mistake, but doesn't come back injured. I don't think anybody dies, and I would have a bit like the pod race, if you like, have other people who you don't really know very well, but you see them get picked off, and you think it will be our heroes soon.
It's building the tension, it's building the threat, it's showing us something that there is a palpable danger here, and maybe not all of our heroes and guest cast are going to make it to the end, but they do.
Yeah, do you believe that when they have which I liked the clothing coming to get them, I liked all that and the whispery voice, but then they go, the timeless child.
Oh.
Now,
we won't go. We better not go off on one about that, because this is the only mention of it this season. It's just seeded it there.
That is really interesting, because I remember just thinking, like, that is obviously the Doctor getting freaked out by that. I'm thinking, that's quite good. We'll come back to that later. And the Stephen Moffat era sometimes would have have something strange happening, and then later on explain that the silence was really this or that was that. And sometimes it would be as good as the thing that you were thinking of, that you were imagining. So to suddenly have this timeless child thing mentioned, and just going, oh, that's sort of dramatic tension. I just assumed it was a phrase to make her feel vulnerable, to go.
I see, but I can accept it's one of those phrases like, the oncoming storm, or the shadow of the Valiard, all these sort of beautiful things you just throw in as just a little bit of lore, a little bit of subtlety that we don't have to have them explained, and we didn't get it explained for another couple of seasons. But
a lot of people didn't like the expression, but we shall come back to that in the future. Come back to that.
Oh no, you're not going to maybe watch season 13, are you?
So we've got the Ghost Monument. So I can see that you're not keen.
It's a big fat 3 out of 10 for me.
Oh,
I would not rewatch this one through choice. I really would not. And it was the same reaction I had the first time around, which is different to the next one we're going to talk about. I had a very different reaction.
Right. So I'm giving this a 5 out of 10, but I am enjoying it though. This is this thing, as you say, that the second story of any Doctor is usually a little bit that. I can't remember what the second story was of David Tennant. I want to say the wolf one with the monks, and I want to say it was the Queen Victoria one, but that's quite good. So I don't know.
Oh yeah. Well, that's David Tennant for you. Maybe just makes
so there we are.
A silk purse out of a sow's ear.
So we've got that one there, and we're moving on now to what essentially I feel is like a quantum leap episode of.
Isn't it just? That's the best description.
And there's nothing wrong with that. I remember sort of being told that they were going to do a Rosa Parks episode, and I knew that the person who is the script editor of this era of Doctor Who mainly worked in CBBS and CBBC, and to be honest, like it shows a lot of the time. Like I'm watching a grown-up program, but there's nothing wrong with that. Doctor Who goes through phases of being a bit dark and scary, and then sometimes being a bit like, realise that maybe 6 or 7-year-olds are watching. So with Rosa, I must admit I did actually rather enjoy it. The only thing I didn't really enjoy about it was the fact that the baddie in it, there's not much to him. He's just space racist.
Yeah. He's Captain Jack Light, is what my note says to myself. He's got a vortex manipulator. He's come back to manipulate time, so he's evil Captain Jack. But he's not played with anything like the level of charisma of Captain Jack or interest. This episode, Rosa, I have to say, of all the episodes this season, was the biggest shock on a second viewing, because I didn't rate it the first time round. My bone of contention, and my bone of contention is still there for this, is the TARDIS crew robbed Rosa of her agency. Rosa Parks, her act is an act of courage. It's an act of genuine historical importance. And I felt there was a bit too much camp farce going on from the TARDIS crew to make it happen. And I'm going, watching it the second time round, knowing what I'd thought of it, I actually really quite enjoyed this one. Yeah. And I felt, like you say, I took it as almost the quantum leap approach. I went, no, actually, I can see it's putting right what could go wrong because someone else is interfering. So they're just trying to make this point in time actually happen. And it worked. It didn't feel too preachy on the kind of the racial stuff. Ryan was a standout in this episode. I really thought he was, without a doubt. All kudos to him, the actor. And the guest cast were good. I can't help but remember Daleks in Manhattan for the very inauthentic American accents that permeate throughout that take honestly we're in Manhattan and I am an American. I thought, this felt authentic. I don't know if the cast generally are American or not who are playing the roles, but they played it with heart. They played it seriously, and I thought as an historical, and let's face it, it's an historical adventure, works well.
I don't think they needed to have the space racist.
No, I would agree with you. They don't think they did.
You've already got the baddies. I mean, I read some silly reviews of it that said, "Oh, not all white people were racist at the time." I go, yeah, but these people were, and that's the hub of it. It should have just been the Doctor trying to not mess up what had happened. I mean, imagine if they'd shown up and accidentally they'd fallen in the bus, and Rosa had missed that bus, and now time was all fractured. We've got to get her back on that bus again, as you said, rather than a farcical approach. But I really like the ending where they're on the bus with her, and they've kind of made friends, and Rosa sort of likes them, and then Rosa gives her like the death stares because without saying Whitey wouldn't sit up. Jodie, everybody doesn't get up for her. And she looks at them as if to say, well, I was proved right. That doctor's just a racist. Wow, that's really strong drama. So that was, that's when I think the Chib era surprises you by doing something that Moffat or Russell Davies hasn't done yet or will do, which is that uncomfortableness. I've always wanted to have the Doctor traveling in time, but not necessarily on the right side of history by accident. And going, if we change this, it will screw up. So we've got to let this horrible thing happen so that the better thing can happen. So let's pop a drop of drama. So
exactly. Yeah. I thought. My note to myself, says here, I think this was a worthy effort to do social relevance for historical time. I thought if I'd watched this as a child, I would have been blown away by it. It was like, wow, what a terrible injustice, and this has been put right by this person. It would have probably interested me in Rosa Parks' life and the civil rights movement. As an adult, I didn't feel patronised, and that is always the problem.
I didn't even mind the music at the end. A lot of people were complaining that they use this modern music, and I was like, it's a modern TV, 21st century TV. So out of 10, I'm going to give it careful now. You see, I'm going to give it an 8 because the baddie in it slightly spoils it for me.
See, for me, I'm still giving it a 6. Because I enjoyed it, but the farcical elements, I felt they should have taken those away. They should have played this one quite deadly seriously. I absolutely agree with you that Future Boy was an irrelevance and an irritation, and that really takes it down. But like I say, this was the first episode for me that I thought, this is something a bit different. I couldn't have seen Capaldi doing this. I couldn't have seen this is something we haven't had before, and it works because particularly we have a black companion. A companion of color, I suppose I should say, and great, of all the episodes I watch, it's the one that I changed my opinion of the most because, as I say,
so we're doing well. We're 3 episodes in. We've had a not bad one, a pretty bad one, this quite good one. So now we're coming up to what is essentially one with a kind of a pun title, which is Arachnids in the UK, where they go back home. They find that there are spiders everywhere. Donald Trump wannabe shows up. He says, shoot the spiders with a gun. The doctor says, no, you should suffocate them in a cupboard. So they do. The end. It's kind of what happens. Now, the spiders, for me, look really scary. I haven't got arachnophobia. I felt I've never even seen them. So,
you haven't seen my note to myself says, CGI spiders are poo.
Oh,
I was really unimpressed by this.
I thought they were good. I mean, noises and everything. And I didn't mind.
No, they were better in Planet of the Spiders as puppets.
I didn't mind the Trump-alike. I thought he was quite funny. I didn't even mind where the Doctor had to do this, trap them all in a cupboard and kill them. I thought that's like, that's awkward. That's like, when the Brigadier blows up the Silurians, like normally the Doctor wouldn't have to make a bad decision. And she makes a bad decision. Again, I think that kind of connects to the drama of maybe the Doctor isn't going to make the perfect decision. That's interesting for the characters. Even using a bit of contemporary music. Listen to that. Modern music says here, isn't it good? And all that sort of stuff. I think what the weirdest thing is, and this is, I shouldn't have looked at reviews before reviewing this. So out to me, the problem isn't solved. The spiders are still there. All the spiders again. Is that all the spiders? This is like in Spider-Man 3, where there's a point where someone's being attacked by a giant metal thing, and it's swinging towards, and it nearly kills the Gwen Stacy and all this sort of stuff. And then Spider-Man swoops in, saves Gwen Stacy, puts her there, then swings away. But the girder's still going, by the way. And the same thing with this is that we sort of solve a problem by sort of killing the spider, but I don't think that's all the spider. I don't feel like, the rubbish that's underneath the hotel that the Trump-alike makes the spiders mutate. I don't remember, did that get destroyed? I don't think so. A lot of it's not resolved, and you feel like maybe it was a 2-parter. Maybe it could have been a better, but it seems.
Yeah, for me, obviously we'll put the spiders on one side. Yeah, Donald Trump. didn't remember his name enough to be other than just this is clearly supposed to be Donald Trump, and he reminded me of the guy from Dalek, from
oh yeah,
it was that kind of feel, that kind of businessman there, although a bit of a tribute act rather than a true authentic. I thought the guest cast were good. Again here, and that really helped it, the interaction. I actually really quite like Yazzy's family.
Oh yeah, they're fun
in it,
yeah,
and obviously that it's important for them for one of the later episodes. And yeah, I mean, this had a feel of a classic. I mean, I said this feels a bit like a early 10th Doctor story, or possibly 3 or 4.
Yeah.
It's that sort of feel to it, just with modern trappings, modern special effects. But what I didn't like is the Doctor spent a lot of time explaining things to us. There's a lot of talking down. You made the comment about early on about the kind of CBeebies feel at the time, while in Rosa, brilliantly subverted. Here, I was just going, thanks for the lecture. I am slightly older than 5.
But then you have the tendency where you'll be somewhere and you'll suddenly realise that I can see it with my eyes. We are on the planet and we're surrounded by diddies and that sort of thing. But for some reason, it's not giving Jodie a dramatic speech so much as giving Jodie a lot to say while standing still and talking to us. No, she's great. She's really cool. But we were watching later episodes of Chibnall, even The Power of the Doctor, and which is like her last thing.
Which is possibly the best Chibnall script there is. So.
Yeah, it's still an example of her walking in and going, I'm ordering a glass. It's a glass you can see with water in it. It's a see-through glass. I'm ordering it. I'm going to drink it. I'm going to drink the glass like we all drink water. And it's that thing going, we know. And I don't remember feeling. Thank you. I don't remember being talked down to as much in other episodes, and it's very strange. It is. I don't know what quite.
I think it's one of those that I think would have benefited from another couple of passes by the script editor. A bit of tightening here and there, a little bit less of the exposition, a little bit more of the action, a little bit more of the tension. Could have been a classic. And then of course we have the moment at the end where the fam rededicate themselves to travel with the Doctor, and that was the point I nearly threw my TV out the window. So it's like you're already traveling. We don't need a heartfelt moment that all 3 of you are now coming together. I'm quite happy for you just to keep traveling with the Doctor. We don't have any more explanation of it. You're doing it. It's fun. It's great. It's exciting.
You've reminded me now at the beginning of the episode when they arrive in Sheffield and everybody starts leaving, and the Doctor's going, "Oh, you're off then. Oh, you're not good. Oh, bye. You're not coming back." I really felt that. I don't think I've seen the Doctor in any of their various versions look that vulnerable or go, "Oh, I didn't know I was a space-time taxi. Okie dokie, bye." And then you can come with us. Oh, can I? I like that. That was different.
I guess so. I guess so. I didn't. It didn't click with me that bit at all. So
I got too much pathos. I really respond to that sort of stuff. So we haven't given that out of 10. So we've got Spiders. We've got Trump. I did actually really enjoy this one. So I'm going to give it like. It's not super fantastic, but I'll give it a 6 out of 10.
It's a 4 out of 10 for me. And like I say, good guest cast, interesting premise.
Yeah,
that's it for me.
Okay. So now we have, and I have tried practicing saying this one, which is the